Welcome to Unplanned and Untold, a podcast that dives into the real-life, unexpected twists of facing an unplanned pregnancy in college. Join us as we listen to the unplanned and untold stories of those who have overcome the odds in order to achieve their goals. Welcome back to another episode of Unplanned and Untold. I'm your host, Kaitlyn Willing, and today I have the honor and privilege to interview one of our very own Baby Steps graduates. Kaitlyn was a resident student mom at our hub at Auburn University, and on this episode, we'll gain an inside look into her unplanned pregnancy journey, why she decided to move into the Baby Steps house, and all that she has accomplished since graduating. Kaitlyn, it's so good to see you.
Hi, so happy to see you.
Oh
I
my
was
gosh.
telling Sarah, I was like, when are they gonna have me on the pod?
We need the
Like,
girl on the podcast. Come
I
on.
was like, listen, like I'm down for the pod. Just give me a
Yes.
call. I'm free.
You know what I was doing? I was just waiting for you to continue conquering the world so that when you came on this episode, we
So
could flaunt
funny.
your peacock feathers of all that you've done since graduating. Because, girl, it's a lot.
You're so funny. Yeah, I've been busy. I've been
You've been
busy.
so busy, and I'm so proud of you. And I'm so excited to dive right in. So, listeners, you need to listen to this entire episode because this girl is a boss girl. Let me tell you. We're going to journey through her unplanned pregnancy story, talk a little bit about baby steps and how it impacted her. And then we're going to talk about all of the things that she has done since graduating. And it's going to blow your socks off because you are one determined mama.
Thank you. Sorry for the
Absolutely.
headphone, guys. It's just my ear is earring, so I'm doing the best I can.
No worries.
But yes, I'm so happy to be here. So,
Yes. So take me back to 21-year-old Kaitlyn at Auburn University around the time you got pregnant. What did life look like then?
I had just joined my sorority like a
Okay.
couple of months before that.
Nice.
I was living life. I was,
Oh,
as people would say, having a hot girl summer.
yeah.
Just like maneuvering through school. I had just gotten into the elementary education program.
Awesome.
So I was doing classes for that in the spring and during the summer. Then me and some of my line sisters, we went to Miami in the summer, then came back and just got ready for school. So
Awesome.
just a regular college girl
College
life.
student. Yeah. Just doing all the things, seeing the world. So,
Yes.
how did you realize you were pregnant? What did that look like?
So I'm just one of those people that like if I'm sick or if I feel weird, I'm just kind of like, oh, like it'll just blow over. Like I'm not really gonna stress
Sure.
about it.
Hmm.
But this felt a little different because I was like getting like depressed. Like,
Okay.
you can tell like your hormones start to change a little
Yes.
bit in the beginning. And I
Yes.
was like, I have no reason to be sad. Like, nothing was like wrong. Like,
Right.
everything was just like in order. So I was just like, why am I feeling this way? And I told my two line sisters that I'm the closest to, that I felt like I was pregnant. And they were just like, Kate, like you're being dramatic, like it's not that big of a deal. I was like, y'all, but I feel like I'm pregnant. Like you just when you have that feeling.
Absolutely.
And we went to Sky Bar. Shout out to everyone that goes to Sky Bar.
I just feel like 90% of these pregnancy stories somehow involve Skybar because even my story does. And I got pregnant way before you did. So here we are, the infamous
Yes,
Skybar.
Sky Bar. Me and some of my line sisters, we went to Sky Bar one night and we're just hanging out. And I still was like, could not shake the sickness that I was
Mm,
feeling and the like the sadness I had in me. And I turned to my line sister, Calandra. I was like, can we please go to CVS after so I can go get a test? I was like, just please, like, I just need like clear mind, like whatever. And so her and Brie were like, yeah, totally. So we left Sky and we went to the CVS by BurgerFi
okay.
and got a test and went back to Bree's place at an Evergreen. And I peed in a cup because Calandra was like, just pee in a cup and like we'll just dip it. Like, because it
Right.
came, the pack I bought had two. So
Okay.
she's like, we'll dip one. And then whatever happens, if you need confirmation, whatever, we'll dip the other one. I was like,
Okay.
okay, great. I peed in the cup, dipped it, and so we're just sitting on the bed like idiots, just like, oh, like this is gonna be fine, like laughing, da 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 da. And so like about 5 minutes go by, and Clint's just like, do you want to go look at it or do you want me to go look at it?
Yeah, whose turn? Who's gonna be the one that looks at this?
And I was like, you go look at it because if I look at it, I'm gonna pass out. So she went and looked at it and she was like, and I was like, what? She's like, wait, no, you're not. I was like, oh, okay, great, like, period. And then Bree went in there. She's like, Calandra, you're wrong. She is. Like,
Oh my,
Calandra has never like seen a pregnancy test, I think, until that day.
she didn't know how to
So
read it.
she didn't know how to read it. So I'm thinking, like, oh, I'm just like going through seasonal depression,
Dodge that bullet.
like whatever. And Bree was like, no, like,
Oh,
and I ran in there. I was like, okay, like you two obviously like got something going on. So let me just look at it for
yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
And I was pregnant. And
Oh my God.
Calandra was like, we gotta take another one. We need to take another one. And I was like, at that point, I accepted it. I was like, y'all, we're having a baby.
Yeah.
Like, we need to go to the doctor. Like, that's just my personality too. Like, once
Right.
I'm dealt and given something by God, I'm just gonna like, okay, what's next?
Just move
So
forward.
just move forward. That's all you can do. And Calandra was like, no. So she dipped the other one and it came back positive as
Shocker.
it would. And then she was like, okay, well, let's just go get another one in the morning. Let's go get a clear blue so you can see the words. I'm like, Calandra, like, okay, I'm the one who's pregnant, not you, baby. Like,
Right.
I don't, you know? And so the next morning we went to AMC in AFC in Tigertown
Okay.
just to do like an actual medical like confirmation.
Okay.
And the nurse was like, girl, I dipped it barely in there and it lit up. I said, yeah.
That's what it
Mm-hmm.
is.
That's what it is.
So at this point in time, who are you dating somebody? Who's the father of the baby and how do you tell them?
So my dating life has always been a little chaotic.
Hmm.
Um, so when I found out I was pregnant and like I went to AFC, they told me I was a certain amount of weeks when I wasn't. So
Okay.
I was thinking this one person I dealt with like months ago was the dad. And then until I went to like my actual OB,
Okay.
then she was like, actually, no, they got it wrong. You got pregnant around this time. So then I had to go back and be like, psych. So it was just a mess.
I can't even
Yeah.
imagine
Yeah.
having to
And so
navigate
even
through
when
that.
then happened, like when they gave me the confirmation of like when I like conceived or whatever,
Sure.
like me and the person I was dating at the time had already like broken up. And
Okay.
so then too, I ended up dating someone like maybe a week or two after that
Right.
and was intimate with them. So it
Right.
was just like a series of like uh-ohs. So Caden didn't really meet his dad until he was like 3 months old because I had to go through a series of like DNA tests and
Wow.
all of that. And so like people were worried about me like not having like him there when I was pregnant. And
Sure.
that's why I always thank God for my line sisters because they were there like through the whole thing
Right.
and they get it. And like when I tell people that story, like, it kind of like it rises the issue of judgment because
Mm.
I was so young and I was making
Right.
irresponsible decisions in a way. But ultimately, like I'm just thankful that like Caden has his dad in his life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So when they gave you the amount of weeks they thought where you conceived, and you tell Caden's dad, hey, I think this is you, like this is your baby, how
Uh-huh.
does he react to all of this?
So he was just kind of like, well, did you do DNA tests with like everyone else? And I was like, yeah. And I sent him copies. And I was
Wow.
like, so you need to, well, I was like, not you need to, but I was like, please,
Right.
like, please,
Yeah.
like, go ahead and do this because I just need confirmation. And I was like, already at that point, like 99% sure, like
Right.
that's what I was going to be dealt with. And so I paid for it and everything, and we sent it off. And then, like, within like 2 weeks, it came back that he was 99.9% Caden's daddy.
How did he handle that? Was he ready to step up and step in as a father? I mean, I think I
Um,
should go back. Was he in school? Like, where in life was he?
so he graduated from Troy
Okay.
in May of 2022.
Okay.
And so he had already kind of gotten into like his job and things like that. And then, me, I was still in school. I was in my last semester at Auburn. All I had to do was finish my student teaching, and then I was out of there.
Okay.
And so when we both found out like he was Caden's dad, like of course it's completely new to him because like I had 9 months to plan. He had a day. Like
Yes.
it's a lot. So that's why I gave him a lot of grace in the beginning
Okay.
because I'm like, this is my fault. Like
Right.
100% took accountability for that. Like this is my fault, like X, Y, and Z. But he made some small like initiatives in the beginning to just do
Okay.
certain things, whether it was like buy diapers or like he would try to come see him in Auburn, things like that. But then eventually, as I start asking the question of like, okay, when would your family like to see him? Do you
Right.
want him on this holiday? Do you want, you know what I'm saying? I got a lot of like pushback or like half answers,
Sure.
and like it didn't feel right.
Mm.
So I took matters into my own hands and I texted his mom.
Okay.
And I was like, hey, like, I don't know if like you're just upset about the overall situation or what. Like, it was a really sweet text. But I was like, you are more than welcome to see
Mm.
your grandson. Like, that's not a problem for
Yeah.
me. Like, I can drop him off or you can pick him up or like
Right.
whatever. And so she was like, call me and gave me her number. So I called her because I texted her on Facebook. And so she was like, call me. So I called her and she was like, I did not know I had a grandson. She was like, I did not know. And I was like, so mind you, we confirmed in like October of 2022. I talked to her February 2023.
Wow. So
So like
through the holidays and
months had gone
everything.
by, and in my
Wow.
head I'm thinking she knew and she didn't. So
That had
then
to come as
that,
a shock.
yeah. And so, but God bless her because she was like on it. Like once like we confirmed and everything, she was
Yeah.
like, when can I see him? Like da 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 da. Like came up the next following weekend with like
Wow.
his grandma, like her mom. So like they got to meet. So like it was just great. And so they have been very proactive and active in his life. But that kind of steered me the wrong way with him because I'm
Right.
like, I was grace, 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 grace
Yep.
up
Thought we were
until
on a
that.
good path and
Right.
then
I was like, grace. And then at some point, you're playing with me because
right.
out of everything, you can play with me, but don't play with my child.
Hmm.
So at that point, I was like, okay, so your repercussion is you're gonna go in child support.
Right. Because at that point, how do you trust? Like trust has been
Right,
broken that his whole family didn't even know that they had a grandchild. And
right,
you need financial support as a single mom.
right.
So do you have to go to court? Were y'all able to figure it out on your own?
So I was eventually made out to be the bad guy, and it's fine because at the end of the day, I did what I did not to be spiteful is because I genuinely did need help. Like,
100%.
this is our child. He's not just my responsibility. Like,
Exactly.
we mutually had to take care of him and raise him.
Yes.
And I had just started teaching that February too, so I was making half of like an actual teacher's salary because I was a late hire.
Wow.
So, I was like, I need help. So I went to the DHR
Okay.
in Decatur and I filed.
Okay.
And the big thing was like during all that, I was like, okay, I need your mailing address or like social security card number. And he wouldn't give it to me, nor would his mom.
Mm-mm.
Because she was like, well, why would you want to put him on that? And I'm like, do you not remember what happened 2 months ago?
Right. You didn't
Like,
even
do you not
know. Like,
remember
yeah, he
I
didn't
had to
tell
tell you
you.
about your, okay.
Yeah.
So But that's sometimes like how people are about their kids. They support them right or wrong.
Sure.
I'm not. I'm not one
Right.
of those. That's just not me, and that's not how I was raised.
Yeah.
So I was just like, oh, okay. So my dad, thank God for him, my dad's a lawyer, so he just kind of gave me advice about the whole thing, and I filed, and we had a set court date. I filed in like April of
Okay.
2023, and then we had a set court date in like August. And so then they just did like that court date was just more so like another DNA sample, and all that stuff just to confirm because they have to, even if we have our own confirmation, like they need like in the system confirmation since we're not married.
Okay.
And so did that. And then we had another court date set for the end of September to like go over results, obviously, and then to produce like how much income we make, how much money has he given me before child support so he can get like some type of credit, this and the third. And that whole day was like drama city. Like
Wow.
I've never gotten like I didn't get cussed out,
Right.
but I did.
Mm. That I
And so
cannot even imagine.
and I was just like, okay. Like certain things just don't phase me. And that didn't really phase me. But Caden was there. So that's what bothered me.
Wow. Wow.
Because why are we doing all this in
Yeah.
front of a child?
Right. Right.
So since then, it's just been like, it's been up and down, you know?
Okay. Absolutely. That's so hard to navigate, especially so young.
Yeah. And like trying to like start my own little career and like, the last thing you want to do is go to court. Like I never thought
Exactly.
at like 23 I'd be going to court for child support. Like that was the last thing on my mind.
Absolutely. Okay, so take me to the time in life where you're considering moving into the baby steps house. What were some of the things that you were facing that made that look like the best option for you and your son?
So I learned about baby steps through a friend, Amber. And so she had her son Cam. So I always knew about you guys because she utilized you guys when she still lived in the
Love
Auburn area and
her.
was still going to school. I do too. I
So
miss her.
sweet.
Um, but also so I'm the oldest of three. I have two
Okay.
younger brothers. And so my brother Connor was getting ready to go to college in Pennsylvania. And so that was a big thing too with my parents, were really my dad. It was just like his big thing was like as soon as he got one of us out, he wanted to get another one of us in.
Okay.
So like he was just really concerned about finances, about Connor going to school. And at that point, I was also like, this is not your responsibility anymore because I made the decision to have a baby, like you didn't. So I was just like, let me look into not only the best choice cost wise, but just
Right.
community wise.
Sure.
And so I was like, oh, baby steps is like a thing. And so I connected with my academic advisor, and I think she gave me you guys' like info, but also I've
Wow.
been following the Instagram for a while too.
Okay.
And so I just sent an email, and that's how we got started.
Wild. So, I mean, for all of our listeners who don't know, we have like a house where we have two
Mhm.
student moms. Typically, the student moms who live in that front house are either pregnant or have newborn babies. And there is a resident student assistant who lives in the house. And then there are individual apartments in the back. And usually they transition into those apartments when they have toddlers.
Right.
So, walk our listeners through walking into the house for the first time. What was going through your mind? I mean, once you are in college, you're living your own life. You're free, you're making your own
Mhm.
decisions. But then once you step into the baby step surrounding, there are different like rules, regulations. Then you're sharing a house with somebody that you don't know. So walk us
Mhm.
through all of those feelings and what it was like living there.
So I'm very independent and I'm very OCD. So it was just like a big thing of that. And like, two, I was kind of like thankful. I was like, it was kind of like a first come, first serve because I was like the first one to be in the house. And then Divine ended up moving in like a couple weeks after.
Yes.
Um, but It definitely was different because I'm used to like, okay, doing things on my own time, not really having to follow like a quote unquote policy
Right.
per se. But it didn't really bother me because I feel like the policies and stuff you guys have in place, like they work to a certain degree. Because
Right.
what do I look like being at the bar down the street when I have a newborn at home? It just like there's no need for me to be out past 10 p.m. Like
Right.
there's just no reason. Like so it makes sense.
But it's
I mean,
hard
you're right.
at first.
It is. It definitely is because I got there and like I was still pregnant. So I was just like just, the waiting game of it all.
Yeah.
But during that time, I just spent my time like nesting, like
Oh,
looking on Pinterest for any last minute items, like, and just relaxing. So I was like, this is like my last series of quote unquote peace
right.
before I have this child. So I wasn't
Exactly.
really worried. I was just worried about like making sure everything was organized, that it was clean. Like I didn't want to come home and like be frantic. And I knew
Sure.
I wouldn't be to a certain degree because y'all were there too, but it was just more so like he's my child, so I wanted to be as hands-on with him as I could be. Because I accept help to a certain degree, but
Yeah.
like I also just like this is my baby. Like I want to do everything and like have those experiences. So
Absolutely. I feel like we definitely connect. Our personalities are very similar. We're just
yeah,
independent females, and you do what you got to get done. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? And so at this point in time, when you moved into the baby steps house, were you interning or what part of school? Where were you in that journey?
So I was originally supposed to graduate May 2022, but since I didn't pass the praxis to do my internship, they pulled me out of my internship.
Oh, wow.
So that whole time from January to May, I was just like here. So I got my substitute teaching license. I subbed in the Auburn
Awesome.
area. Just spent a lot of time with my line sister because it's like the last time like it was just gonna be me and not like with me with a baby.
Yes.
Um, just like was shopping for baby stuff. Like that was just like a good time for me to like wind down before
Right.
that phase of my life. And I was able to just like to sit and reflect and just be like, okay, I need to do this when I'm a mom, or I like this is a habit I need to cut, like just stuff like that. Like a lot of self-reflection happened during that time.
Yes.
But during the summer, like I wasn't taking any classes because literally all I had to do was my student teaching. So I think at one point during the summer, I had to go to a meeting just to go like review like the internship handbook and things like that. But that was like after I had Kaden.
Gotcha.
So I didn't really get into the swing of being back in school until like August 16th of
Okay.
like that year.
So, something very unique about your story that we don't hear all the time is your sorority sister's commitment to y'all's friendship.
Yes.
They have been with you from the beginning to even now. It sounds like you have surrounded yourself with a community of young women that are just full of support. And so I want you to kind of walk us through what did going into labor look like, not having the support of
Oh
the
my
father of the
God.
baby and leaning on the support of your sorority sisters.
Um, when I tell you, when we all get together, it's like a grand time. So me going into labor was like an episode of The Office. Like it was just so chaotic. So the original plan was Bree was going to pick me up and take me to the hospital.
Okay.
Okay. And that was gonna be it. It was gonna be like Bree and Jayla were gonna be like probably the two people in the room with me if my mom could not get there in time. Because
Because she had to fly
disclaimer,
in.
yes, disclaimer, my mom lives in Virginia. I lived in Virginia for part of my life. And so the whole thing about her coming, my mom coming, was because my doctor, Dr. Harris, was like, I'm going to induce you on this day. I was due to July 20th, but he was like, I'm going to induce you on the 13th so your mom can get here. I was like,
Okay.
lovely. Um, but that didn't end up being the case. So fast forward to the day that I was in labor, Bree was supposed to take me to the hospital, but Bree ended up going home to her hometown in Verbena for the 4th because Kaden ended up being born on the 4th of July. So she was out of town. Thankfully, my line sister Jamila was in Auburn working because she's in dental school now, but she did like pharmacy tech stuff at the Walgreens on Glen.
Gotcha.
And I called her and I was like, Jam. And she would not answer the phone. So I kept blowing her phone up. She finally answered. I said, Jam, my water broke. You're going to have to take me to the hospital. And so I've never heard anyone on the phone so frantic in my life. Like I hear her dropping stuff. I hear her running. Like she's trying to get dressed and hurry. Like she only lived probably about like 5-10 minutes away from the baby step's house. So she's zooming. She gets there and she's like, where are your bags? Like, she's like, don't, because I was leaking, like my water I broke. So she's like, please don't slip. So it was just like chaos. We get in the car. I'm having contractions. I'm also having hot flashes.
Oh.
And so she has the air blazing. She's zooming. And so we get there and by that time too, we had called Bree. So Bree was like packing and like hurrying to get, because her drive was about an hour.
Okay.
And we finally get to the hospital. By the time I got to the hospital, I was about 3 to 4 centimeters dilated, because before I even got to the hospital, like I was already 2 centimeters dilated like a week before.
Gotcha.
So I knew I was gonna have him soon. I just didn't know that soon. Thanks, Kaden. So we got there, I got checked in, they checked me into the room, like got my IV started. I was 4 centimeters dilated. So by the time they moved me into the room, I was supposed to like go into labor, and I was 7 centimeters dilated. That happened like within like 30 minutes, 45 minutes.
With no pain meds at this point.
No pain meds. Like y'all, I
Was
had
your
no
plan
epidural.
to have meds, or were we trying to like power
It was
through?
gonna be a fully medicated experience, y'all. Like fully medicated. Like I no. Like
This is
shout
not
out to
the
all the
plan.
moms. Shout out to all the moms that do it unmedicated. Like you guys are warriors.
Yeah.
But this mama right here is not one of them.
No.
So by the time I got in the room and they were trying to get me all situated and like check on bug and things like that, I was 7 centimeters dilated. And so then the nurse came in and was like, do you want an epidural? I was like, yeah. Like,
Please.
why wouldn't I? Like, andale, please,
Go.
begging you. And so a lot of people don't know too, I had spine surgery when I was 14.
Wow.
So I had scoliosis. So I have screws, rods, and everything in my back. And so this whole thing I've been worried about with this epidural was like if I could get it. My doctor assured me that I could. And so then by the time they found the anesthesiologist and it was time for him to do it, he was like, I can't do it. And I'm looking at him like, no, you're going to.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
my Dr. Harris, do I need to call him? He told me literally a week ago that I could still get it.
Right.
So I'm mid contraction scrolling on my phone to find like my x-ray from 2014 of when I had surgery to show him, like, because my incision is very long. So he thought all my screws and stuff went as long as my incision, and that's not the case.
Right.
So I had to find a photo for him, and he was like, okay, yeah, I can do it. So he did my epidural. And so then I'm like laying back down, and then they're just like, okay, baby, like I'm gonna come check you one more time, like before the epidural fully like hits. So she checked me. Kayla, when I tell you I was 9.5 centimeters dilated, and I was sitting there like, be so serious right now. She was like, do you want to push? I was like, yeah, we might as well. Because by the time this hits, he's already gonna be here. So let's just go ahead, and I'm in my head, I'm just kind of like, all right, let's just go ahead and like do this thing. We'll push and pray.
But wait, like, have the pain meds kicked in yet?
No, that's the thing. No.
So we're doing the thing. We're doing the thing, and
we're doing it.
It is what it is.
We're doing it. We're doing it raw, real, uncut, unmedicated. Literally unmedicated. So I pushed Katie out, and like it literally didn't take long. He was there like within like 10 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
And then like probably about like 30 minutes after like I gave birth to him, like, you give birth to the placenta.
Right.
Like then I felt it. And I was like, thanks.
Then you couldn't feel your legs or abdomen anymore after the fact. Birth never goes how we plan. Well, I'll just tell every mama that you can make plans all you want. And if you listen to one of our previous episodes, Dr. Henserling comes on the podcast. Love her. And she shares with us, like, let's not call them birthing plans. They're more like birthing, like, suggestions.
Well, look, she's the one who ended up birthing Boog. So yeah, it's because Dr. Harris was not on duty. Okay. So she was. And thankfully near the end of my pregnancy, I was seeing her anyway, because I think he would like went on vacation for a little bit and then came back. Right. So like her and I got to connect and Kiki. And she was like, "Oh, we're really gonna have this baby." I was like, "Yeah, girl, we are." And unmedicated, so let's do it. And she is amazing. She's a rock star. Like she got me through because my big thing, I was just worried about like, am I going to tear? Am I gonna excessively bleed? And she did amazing, and none of that happened. So
Oh my
yeah.
goodness. Such a crazy birth. And if we have listeners who are married, I mean, I think it's just shocking because once you've experienced a birth married with a partner and getting to see kind
Mhm,
of how it's supposed to be, and then
mhm.
you also experience a birth where you have your friends, your
Girl.
sorority sisters, like I did as well, being the
Mhm,
ones there for you, staying in the hospital overnight with you, not having that
mhm.
man support you. It's two totally different experiences.
Different things, totally different.
Absolutely.
And
Go
like,
ahead.
and I was to say, Bree's the one like who watched him come out, and
Oh,
like Jam is the one who cut the cord, and like
oh
Jam
my
the whole time was like,
gosh.
"I'm not in school to be like a nurse or like a OB. I'm in school to be a dentist." And I'm like, "Yeah, but you can add to your resume that you cut a cord.
You cut the cord,
You
girl.
cut the cord."
Oh, it warms my heart to hear these stories where there are such a core group of friends that are
Yeah,
there for you and that were there because you'll have them forever. Like the ones that show
right.
up the day that you're in the hospital, helping you push
Literally.
that baby out, drive you to the hospital. I mean, those are awesome friends forever. And my second question would be, what happens after having Caden? Do you go right back to school because are you in the middle of the semester at this point?
No, so he was
Okay.
born July 4th. He was born the
Okay.
4th. So I had about like almost a month and some change until I had to go back to
Oh,
school,
perfect.
which was great because I got to like just bond with him for like a month
Yes.
and like get him on a routine because I'm like my parenting styles like we're very much so on a routine.
Yes.
And so I got him on a routine. Like Caden was like the easiest baby, and
Mhm.
he's still pretty much a really easygoing like toddler. Of course, we have like tantrums and things like that, but like
Right.
he's my saving grace. I tell people that all the time. Like
Oh,
I'm just so thankful for him. Um, so I just got to like really be like a mom, like and
yes.
just like hang out and like just get in the flow of things. And like people were able to come see him and see me without like the worry of like school and stuff like that.
Absolutely. I love that. So we fast forward to graduation, which is a
Hmm.
huge accomplishment. Oh my gosh. And your graduation pictures just, they're some of my
Thank you.
favorite, absolute
Thank
favorite.
you.
What happens after graduation? Do you go straight into the teaching world?
So right after graduation, I moved in with my dad because he really wanted us to move in. So my dad lives in Decatur, Alabama,
Okay.
which is about 30 minutes outside of Huntsville. And my whole thing was like I also started grad school. So at Alabama A&M. So like my whole original plan was like just to get through grad school and then teach. But then I
Yes.
was like, I don't know. So then that's why I still have my subbing license. So I subbed in the area and then I ended up subbing at my current job now and a kindergarten position opened up.
Okay.
And I was like, let me just apply. Like, no big deal if I don't get it, but like, let me just apply because did my internship with kindergarten. And when I tell you, I loved it. Like, I loved my school. Like, I loved just like my principal, my vice principal. And so I did my interview. And like within like a week, she called me, my principal called me back. And she's like, "Do you want the job?" And I was like, yeah. And so she was like, okay, you
Wow.
start next week on like Tuesday or Wednesday. Is that okay? I was like, yeah.
Oh,
Mind you, like I had not bought anything, like any
right.
classroom
The
stuff,
whole
nothing. Like
classroom. Yeah.
I was going in there kind of like cold turkey, like just using whatever the teacher before me had.
Right.
And I had to just learn how to make it my own.
Right.
But it ended up being like a blessing in disguise.
Well,
So,
you more than made it your own because I recently saw that you got an amazing award. Talk to us about what award you had received recently.
so in October, I won Fox 54 Teacher of the Year. I received the most nominations that they have ever received in Fox 54 Teacher history.
My
So that
goodness.
was an honor.
Oh my
And
God.
then in December, I won New Teacher of the Year.
You're killing it, girl. You're killing it. I mean, you have a baby in undergrad. You don't stop there. You go to grad school, then you get your dream job and you kill it at your dream job too. I mean, those two awards, so new in your career, so amazing. There are not many people who can say that. And you have the drive. I mean, there's
Thank
something to
you.
be said about women who experience unplanned pregnancies. It gives us grit. It gives us the opportunity to really show the world what we're made out of. Unfortunately, a lot of times because we don't have another choice, like we have to, pull our bootstraps up
Right.
and grab the world.
And do what we have to do.
Exactly. And
Literally.
honestly, when I interview women who've had these experiences, their lives and all that they have accomplished is truly amazing because of I believe, because of all they learned about who they are and what they're capable of when they experience their
Right.
unplanned pregnancy.
I always tell people all the time, like, I thought I was strong until I became a mom. Like,
Exactly.
mom strength is a different type of strength. Like, you do it even if you don't feel like you want to, or you have the
Yes.
energy to. Like, because there's literally a little person
Yes.
depending on you. And so, too, like, since the salary for a teacher is already so low, I was like, I'm gonna have to get my master's. Like,
Mm-hmm.
especially for if people know me, they know my standards. Like, I have like a standard for my life,
Yes.
and I know I need the income to match it. And so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna have to grind it out. And that's what I
Ah,
did.
you did. You truly did it. And my last question, it's always my favorite. I hope it's yours too. But what would you say to a student mom who's just finding out she's pregnant and she's absolutely terrified? What piece of advice would you give to her?
My advice would just be more so like do what you feel like is the best thing for you. Like you only know like what you are capable of like handling or dealing with. Like I know like people are worried like, oh, what about my parents? Or what about like I'm gonna lose my friends? Like I was worried about those things too. Like I was more so worried about my parents and my grandparents because we're so close.
Mhm.
But like even to this day, like of course they were disappointed at first, but like to this day they always say Caden's like the best thing that's ever happened to us. So
Yeah.
like don't stress. Like it's going to be growing pains and it's going to be a big thing for people to like accept and like adjust to because like you literally are going to live a whole new normal, but like it's going to be the best thing that you've ever experienced. And like do what you feel right. Like if you feel like adoption's for you, if you feel like having your child is for you, or like whatever the case may be, like just do that. Do what feels good to you. Cause like everyone's situation is different. You really can't tell no one else what they should do with like their body or like with their situation. So just sit and like think about where do you see yourself? I always do this too. Like, where do I see myself in 5 years? Is this decision right now going to affect me in 5 years? And then go from there.
I love that. Well, Kaitlyn, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your heart and honestly for giving us the opportunity to show how successful you can be, even though you experience an unplanned pregnancy. That doesn't have to be the end all be all. And you've shown the world that, girl. You really have.
Thank
I'm
you.
so proud of you.
Thank you. I'm so proud of you because you've been
Oh,
killing it, girl. Y'all, she is a mom of what, five?
5.
Okay.
Yes.
And like literally running a business, a nonprofit. Like, so I'm
Oh.
so proud of you
You're so
and all that you
sweet.
do.
I
Yeah.
miss you, girl. And thank you again. And to all of our listeners, we hope to have you back for another episode of Unplanned and Untold. Bye bye. We hope you enjoyed that episode as we are committed to bringing you the real, raw stories of those who have defied the odds and achieved their goals. But we're not stopping there. We are dedicated to improving our podcast quality so that we can reach an even wider audience. If you believe in the power of these untold narratives, consider donating or sponsoring this podcast by visiting unplannedanduntold.com.